welcome to my channel. My name is Olivia and this is Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today is Thursday, June 3rd, and I am back with my stitching update. It's been 2 weeks since my last one, so I hope you've all been well and you've been making and creating all of the things. If you are brand new to my channel, welcome. This is a video podcast where I talk about my cross stitching and quilting. However, if you are not interested in seeing or hearing about the quilts, I show those a little bit later on in the video, and I let you know in plenty of time that they will be making their appearance so that way you can go on to the next Flosstube video. If you are a returning subscriber, welcome back. So a couple of things you might be able to hear in the background is, and because I can hear it, I'm assuming that my phone is going to pick it up, but the irrigation is, the pump for the irrigation is running and I can hear it crackling. And I would imagine, since it is kind of loud, that it's going to be in the background of this video. As well as across the street, I noticed that they were cutting some of the trees down, so you might also hear some saws. And then Freddy is over in the corner chewing on his bone. So those are three things that you're probably going to hear in the background of my video. Don't adjust your dial or anything. It's just something that I think you're going to hear in the entirety of this video, because I'm pretty sure the irrigation's only been running for a little while. And I think typically it's been running about 8 to 12 hours. So anyway, the back door is open to allow some fresh air in. It has been very, very hot here in my neck of the woods. It was 97 the other day, which is completely unheard of for this time of the year. So we have been melting. It's supposed to cool down, not by much, but it's supposed to cool down a little bit. But this morning we have the doors open to allow some fresh air in, so you're probably going to hear a little bit more outside noise than you normally do. So first off, I just want to say a great big thank you to everybody who continues to keep Brian in their prayers, as well as their thoughts, and sends, and to those who send him best wishes. Thank you so much. He is doing better. I don't want to say that he's doing spectacular. I would just say he's doing good. It is going to be a very slow healing process. Chances are he's not going to be able to do too much over the summer. And yeah, it's going to be a slow healing, but he is doing good. And thank you so much for thinking of him and for keeping him in your prayers. We really do appreciate it so very much. So I am filming this video a day ahead of time. Typically I do film on Friday mornings, but tomorrow morning the husband has a doctor's appointment, and by the time I get home I wouldn't be able to film until later in the afternoon. And it seems like anytime I try to film late on Fridays, I always have some sort of technical issues, and I end up being up very, very late trying to get the video edited and uploaded. And so I thought, right now it's the perfect time. It's late morning here. It's about 11 o'clock. I do have a client quilt that's going to be coming in after lunch, and then I got to go pick up Ethan from school. So I thought right now it's just the perfect opportunity. I'll film my Flosstube video and allow it to upload and do all the things, and then that way I don't have to worry about anything. So I am a day ahead, so I will have 1 day less of progress to show you. But then that means next time I will have 1 day more of progress to show. I have been busy. I don't really, it's June already, and I don't really know what happened to May. The weeks, the days, everything just seems to kind of fly by for me. But I did manage to, over the weekend, on Monday, well, I guess it would technically be, it wouldn't be the weekend, but we had a long holiday weekend here in the States. So on Monday, I found some time to fully finish some things that have been waiting. Didn't quite get everything finished that I wanted, so I'm hoping that maybe this coming weekend I can, carve out a few hours and get some of those things finished. So I'll have those to show you in this video, as well as my progress on everything. So before I share with you what I have been working on over the past 2 weeks, I did get a teeny tiny little bit of stash enhancement. And I believe that earlier in the year, maybe late last year, I mentioned that if this ever became available for purchase, I was going to, snap it up as soon as I could. And that is Plum Street Samplers, the Equality Sampler. So I have the other two that are sister pieces to this, the Heritage Sampler and New Constellation. And I don't have those two stitched up yet. I do have the Heritage Sampler. I believe there's a piece of linen with it, but that's as far as I got kitting it up. Eventually my plans are to stitch all three of them and have them hanging on the wall together. So those are in my future plans. There's a lot of stuff in between working on them that I have to get through first, but eventually my plan is to stitch all three of them. I've been seeing all three on social media. A lot of people started it as a Memorial Day start, which is really cool. And maybe if I didn't have so many things in the works, I would have joined in, but I just, I've pretty much, I got a lot of stuff I gotta work on first. So eventually I will get to that. And who knows, maybe next year I can somehow work it into my plans to begin working on at least one of them. But I've been learning not to make deadlines for myself or thinking too far ahead, because it seems like I cannot meet those deadlines. Something comes up or plans change, and I just thought, I'm just gonna go with the flow. So let's talk about what I've been working on over the past couple of weeks. I did have a new start last week, but I finished it, so I will have that to show you when I show you all of the finishes that I have done. But I did have a new start on Tuesday, and that is Red, White, and Bloom by Brenda Gervais of With Thy Needle and Thread. I started with this little pillow here, and I believe it's called Liberty's Garden. And if I'm wrong, I will scroll it. But I think that's what it's called. Typically when I do these videos, all I do is I grab, the top of the chart, the picture of the chart, and then I leave everything else together in its bag, so that way I don't lose anything. But I remember looking, and I'm pretty positive it said Liberty's Garden or Garden of Liberty. But again, I'll scroll it if it's wrong. And everything that I show, I will list down below with all of the correct information. But here is my progress. So I started this on Tuesday. So I did the first sunflower on Tuesday, the second sunflower on Wednesday, and then I started on the flag today. Today I only had about a half an hour of stitching on it because on Mondays and Thursdays my son goes to school in person. So I had to take him to school this morning, and it's about a 25-minute round trip to school and back, maybe 20 minutes. 20-25 minutes. So I only got about a half an hour. Typically, I average about an hour in the morning if I play my cards right. And so I'm hoping that I will be able to have this finished maybe late next week. But I am stitching it on a piece of 36 count Vintage Country Mocha with all of the called for threads. And I had every single one in my stash. So I was very, very happy. I didn't have to substitute anything. I just had it all ready to go. And I'm stitching it 1/2. And these are so the only thing I didn't bring was the DMC, and that's because I have those bobbinated. And I was afraid they would get lost in all of the shuffle of all of my projects. But here are the over-dyed flosses that are called for in the chart. Very patriotic. Love these colors, love all of these colors. So I hope to get that finished sometime next week, probably late next week. And then my plan is to stitch all of the other smaller pillows And that when I'm done, they will all go in the trench bowl here. And then once I have, it's going to kind of depend how many I can get done between now and the 4th of July. Because typically when the 4th of July gets here, that's kind of my turning point, and I begin thinking about fall, smalls, and Christmas. So I'll see how many I can get through between now and then. My hope is that I will be able to get them all done because they're all, you know, they're not very big. And then I will be transitioning over to falls and Christmas because that's really where, and even some that aren't seasonally related, just ones that are maybe stitching related, or they have all those cute little, you know, tomato smalls that you can get now. And so I'm going to start turning my attention to some of those. But I enjoy so much working on patriotic. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm just really having the best time. Next up is Notforgotten Farm's the Reverend Gourdon Squashbottom. So I'm stitching this with Yvette. And a lot of you guys have also decided to stitch also to join us. And that is a lot of fun. This is my Wednesday stitch. And this is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Creek Bed Brown with the called for DMC floss. And I'm stitching it 1/2. And last night I started, well, I had part of the hat started, and then I went in and finished putting in the DMC black, the 310, and then I started on his face last night. And I actually thought this piece was way bigger than, I thought it was going to take me a lot longer to work on this piece, but it's actually went pretty quick. And all I have left to do is to stitch the Reverend and then to finish the border, and he'll be done. So maybe if I play my cards right, I'll have him finished by the end of the month, because there are 5 Wednesdays, minus the one yesterday, but there's 5 Wednesdays in June. So so I have 4 more Wednesdays to go. So my hope is that I will be able to get him finished by the end of the month, because then I can start a new fall project with Yvette. But it's a lot of fun. I'm really enjoying stitching the Reverend. He's one that I had wanted to stitch for several years, and I am looking forward to having him done and on my wall this autumn. And because I'm stitching him with the DMC, all of the DMC is bobbinated, so I left it with its project bag. Next up is Autumn at Hawkrun Hollow. So in my last video, I hadn't worked on this one, but I was able to work on this over the past 2 weeks. And I am working on this block right here. I think it is the 3rd block in the series. And here is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Vintage Country Mocha. And this particular block, I did change out some of the DMC, and once I get it done, I will be able to list what it is that I used. And when I first started this block, I wanted to make sure, because when I pulled the DMC for this particular block, it didn't really look like the picture. And I just love that cheddar house so much. Or I guess it's a cheddar barn. Is it a house or a barn? I'm going to say it's a house. It looks like a house. But I wanted mine to look more like the picture. And what was funny was, so Ethan got his driver's license at the end of April, or his driver's permit. So on the way home, there is a gravel road that connects to, so in order to get to his school, it's back country roads, and there are 2 roads that kind of parallel each other, and then they don't meet up with each other, but they basically go in the same direction. It's just on one of them leaves the town where Ethan goes to school, and then the other one's a little bit farther down, but they both parallel each other and come out on this road that's out front here. And there is a gravel road that connects both of those roads and then actually ends right over here. So on the way home from school, we travel that, I drive to that road and then I pull off and he gets into the driver, he drives and then we come out right here. And I know that he wants to be able to go drive more, but finding time to do that has just been really challenging the last couple of weeks. And anyway, so long story short, the road that we traveled, there is a house that is on that road that looks exactly like this. And it's the same color. It's just the cutest little house. It's a salt box house. I just love it. Every time we drive past it, I love it. And it's all decorated right now. She's got pots hanging on her porch. And it's a beautiful little house. So, I don't know, because when Allison was learning how to drive, we also went down that same road. So I don't know if that house color stuck in my memory. And that is why I just felt so, I just wanted this one to look like this. I wanted that color. And I don't know if it's because of that house and subconsciously it was just in my brain. But I was just obsessed with trying to find that perfect DMC to stitch the house with. So I love it. I love working on this one. It is so much fun. It is 40 count and it's vintage country, just in case I forgot to say, and I'm stitching it 1/2. But I love it. I love it. And so I've started down here, the fence line, and then there's some grass, and then there's horses down here, and then the bottom is somewhere down here. So it's very slow progress on that one, but I'm not in any hurry to finish it. I'm enjoying the process of working on it. And because I am stitching it with DMC, I do have a box there. All the DMC is bobbinated in it, and I have a box that I keep them all in their alphabetical order. And I don't, with the DMC, if it's bobbinated, I tend to leave it in the project bag or in the box that it's in, because I don't want to lose any of it. And it would be so easy in the mess of filming the Flosstube videos for it to get lost or even to drop on the floor, and then Freddy gets it, because any little paper, anything that falls on the floor, he immediately jumps on it and he just shreds it. So I try to keep all of that stuff contained. Next up is Stacy Nash Cherry Hollow Farm Sampler. And I started this one, it's been a month-ish ago. And I think I've worked on this a couple of times in May, maybe. The beginning of May, I didn't really keep track of how I was working on anything, and I just sort of worked on what I felt like to work on. So I know I've worked on this a couple of times in May, but this is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count beige by Weeks Dye Works with all of the called for threads, 1/2. So I haven't got too much progress. I was able to finish the basket, and then I dropped down and I worked a little bit on the border and then on this vase, and then I put in the year. So I think this one does come back into my rotation in the next 2 weeks. And I'm looking forward to getting back to it because I am enjoying stitching on this one, and I'm excited to have it done and framed and hanging in my house very, very soon. Well, actually, I shouldn't say it's going to be very, very soon, because it probably will be many, many more months before I am finished. But I am looking forward to the time when I do get it finished. And then next up is Plum Street Samplers, Liberty's Welcome. This was my New Year, New Start, and I'm also stitching it with Yvette. And I'm enjoying stitching on this one. I really wish it wasn't, when you first start doing it, I did not think I was still going to be working on it at this point in the year. I figured I would be done with it, several months ago. But it ended up being way bigger than I anticipated. but it's totally worth it. And at some point this year, I do plan on getting it finished. But here is my progress. I'm stitching this on a piece of 36 count Heartland with the called for DMC that is listed on the chart, except for the house. I substituted in DMC 648, and I'm stitching at 1/2. And I really do love it. I love that house. It's just a big giant mansion, and I love it. It's probably, out of all of the houses that I have stitched to date, it's probably my favorite. So now that I finished the house, when it does roll around again in my rotation, I will be working on the Never Ending Grass. And I think down here, underneath the house, somewhere underneath the house, Liberty's Welcome. I'll start stitching the words Liberty's Welcome. So I still have a very, 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 very long way to go. But eventually I will get it finished. And hopefully you guys won't be bored of seeing it every 2 weeks, because I do plan, I'm not planning on setting it aside. I'm planning on working on it until it is finished. I do not want to add any whips to the mocking basket, which I've come January till now and I have not added anything. The plan is to take stuff out of there and work on it. So I cannot set this one aside to work on something else. I have to finish it. And here are the DMC threads. So for this particular project, I went ahead and put them on floss tags. These particular tags, I purchased them from Amazon. They were gift tags. And then I just punched them out with a large, I have a large hole puncher, and I just punched it out for the floss. And, since I knew that, I actually didn't know it was going to take me this long to stitch on the project, but I knew that a lot of this stuff I was going to use, and I thought, I would just go ahead and, put them on the floss rings, and then I'll make a note to myself that once this project is done, these colors are ones that I do use in a lot of projects, and I'll just make a note in my DMC box that, this particular color is on a, floss ring or a floss tag, and I just need to go get and use this instead of what's bobbinated in my box. I had a couple people ask me, what was I gonna do? Do I have some place where I store all of my thread? Do I have it hanging? What do I do? So for the over-dyed floss, I have it in a basket that I keep in a cabinet that's in the other room. It's just in a basket. And then for the DMC, all of them, well, a good percentage of them are bobbinated, and I have floss boxes that I keep them in. And then for any extra, I have a drawer where all of the extra ones are kept. And so these ones, when I'm done with them, they will get put in with the extra floss that I have, and then I'll just make a note and stick it in my DMC box, and then that way I'll know that I need to go there and pull that stuff first and then use it. Then last, I have the Scarlett House and Priest 1841. So I've been working on this one off and on since November. And I love working on her so very much. And she's so beautiful, and I just love everything about this one. Every time I work on her, I just have the best time. I just love it. Love. So I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Carmel by Saraphim Fabrics. And it's not, I don't know how well it's showing up. In the viewfinder it looks more like a beige, but it's actually like a pinkish brown. I love it. The linen, I just love working on this one so much. I love the colors, I just love everything about it. And I think she comes back into my rotation again in the next 2 weeks. I went and I filled out my book of days day before yesterday, and I'm pretty sure I've been trying to evenly space them, but have Liberty's Welcome in the rotation more frequently so I can get Liberty's Welcome finished. And even though I love working on Liberty's Welcome, I'm anxious to get it done. And it's going to be one that's going to hang on my wall year round, but I'm anxious to get it done, and then that way I can work on the next project. But I think that when I was filling out my book of days and Priest, in the next 2 weeks I'll work on it again. And these are her colors, and it's just a very beautiful palette of colors. I think I've mentioned before that these are the colors that my bedroom will eventually have in it. We had to put a lot of plans on hold for right now, because there's no way that Brian's going to be able to, do any sort of anything like that, any sort of projects. So our bedroom project has kind of been put on hold, and we probably won't work on it until maybe the early fall if he's, feeling up to it. But when I do eventually get to work on my bedroom, those are the colors that the bedroom will be. And I didn't do that on purpose. It just sort of happened. And then I was stitching on Anne Priest, and I realized that those were the colors that I will be doing for my bedroom. Well, now that I've shown you everything that I've been working on over the past 2 weeks, it's time to show you some stuff that I have also finished over, well, it actually hasn't been over the past 2 weeks. It was on Monday. So I'm going to show you some of the things that I finished on Monday. I did just check the time, and it's coming up on 12 o'clock. So I have to kind of keep an eye out in case my client, because all my client said was that she would be here after lunch. So I don't know if her lunch is at 11 or her lunch is at noon. So I just got to keep an eye out. And then also my husband and Allison are here, so I'm sure they're going to be wanting lunch soon. So, but let me show you what I've been working on. So I'm going to start off, and I'm going to show you what the trench bowl looks like. So here is what it is currently decorated at. My hope is that I will be able to add another little small to it this weekend, and then as the next 2 weeks go by, that maybe there will be a couple of other little smalls in there too. I had a lot of questions about why do I refer to it as a trench bowl. So it is an oval, long ovalish bowl. I got it from Hobby Lobby a couple of years ago. It was in the spring section, and they are gray at Hobby Lobby. And I brought it home, and it didn't really fit in with my decor. And so it kind of sat for a year, not really being used. I think I did use it at Christmas, painted gray. But it wasn't, everything here in the house is like rustic looking, and it needed to be sort of rusted up. So I ended up painting it with some antiquing wax, and then I roughed it up a little bit, and it's perfect now. And I don't have a whole lot of smalls for various holidays, but that's something that I've been working on. So this is what it currently looks like. And the reason why I refer to it as a trench bowl is because before I got it, I love seeing dough bowls, but to get an authentic dough bowl, it's kind of way out of my price range. So I knew I needed to get something that I could make it look like a dough bowl. And I was watching Outlander. I was rewatching the first season of Outlander. And there was a scene where they're all eating, and they have these long trenchers, and they were basically this color. And I thought, that's exactly what I need. I need a trench bowl. So I went online, and I kind of searched around to see if I could find something that looked similar to that. And they had them at Hobby Lobby. I think this costed me like $8 by the time I used a coupon, and it was perfect. So that's why I call it a trench bowl. but I don't think that's what I don't think that's its real name, but it looks like those trenches that you always see like on Middle Age, like Game of Thrones, and it's always the scene where they're eating. It's just this trench of food. And so that's kind of where the idea came from. Anyway, so the first thing that I want to show, and I did show this as a finish in my last video, and I don't have a picture of it, so I will insert a picture of the pattern or the chart. I got the chart from Christy Green, who is Daisy K's Primitives on Etsy and on Instagram and here on Flosstube. So I'll insert a picture of what the chart looks like here-ish, and then here is my finish. So I finished it into a little pillow. It's full of fiberfill, and then I used their fake rusted, what is it called? Safety pins. They're not real, they haven't been actually rusted. I bought them and they look like this. I think I got them from Amazon. And I got like a bag of 100 of them. But I stitched on a piece of a 36 count dill by Picture This Plus, which I have found out that dill has been discontinued. And I stitched it with the called for DMC 1/2. And I love this. I absolutely love this little finish. I love it. I love the colors. I just love everything. And it was so much fun to stitch. So much fun to stitch. And then I'm going to pause really fast because I realized that I forgot the book to the one I'm going to show you next. All right. I knew I was forgetting something when I gathered up everything to show in this video. But the next one, it came out of Sweet Land of Liberty by Blackbird Design. So this is the booklet it came out of. And it is called In Full Glory. So this is what the chart looks like. And this was my morning stitch. I think I started it back in April and I finished it, I think I had it finished, was I close to a finish? I was either really close to a finish or I had just finished it in my last video. But here it is here. So I went ahead and I finished it into a pillow. I stitched it on a piece of 30 count sunflower seed that I picked up from 123 Stitch. And I stitched it with some of the called for thread and some that I substituted. The house, I believe, is Ruby Slipper by Gentle Arts. And some of it is stitched 1/1 or 1/2, and some of it is stitched 2/2. It's supposed to be stitched 2/2. But with stitching so many projects 1/2, I started this 2/2. But then when I went and I started stitching on the flag, for whatever reason, I did 1/2. And I think it's just because all of my other projects, I'm using one strand of floss. So it's okay. I think I don't know that you can, it looks kind of faded in some spots. Some stand out really, really well. It's fine. It's okay. I love it. I think it turned out really, really cute. I guess it's just a lesson every time I look at it to always read the directions. So here is what the back looks like. It's out of, this is some Civil War reproduction fabric that I picked up from Thousands of Volts. I think it is a Pambuda fabric, but I don't remember what it was. It's by Marcus Brothers, and I remember it did say what the fabric line was, but I can't remember. A lot of my red fabric is tied up in my red sampler quilt that I have been doing, and I know that this particular piece of fabric is in one of the blocks. And I just had, I had cut a piece for it, and I ended up piecing it together so I could make the full back. And this is just stuffed with fiberfill. I don't like it to be like super stuffed, but I do like it to be, stuffed enough that it'll stand up. Anyway, so there are those two finishes, and I love them. They were so much fun. I'm just so happy that I have some smalls to put in the trench bowl, because last year and the year before that was something that I was struggling with doing and getting done, and you know, stitching in the morning has really helped me to get some of those smalls done. And it's just the perfect time, because it's like a half hour to an hour, 45 minutes in the morning that I can just sit down. And Ethan's getting ready for school, and he started school like in person when he's at home, and it's nice and quiet, and nobody's bothering me and no one's asking me to do anything. It's very nice. So all right, so the next thing that I finished, and this one I am like, so I don't want to toot my own horn, and but this finish, it turned out really good. It really did way better than I thought it did. I didn't use any tutorials. I just sat down and I read the directions, and then I just pulled on all of my knowledge as a quilter and as a stitcher and an embroiderer, and but I think it turned out really good. And again, I don't want to toot my own horn or anything like that, but I'm pretty proud of the finish. And that is hats off to Uncle Sam by Blackbird Designs. And this was my morning stitch. It's probably been, well, let's just say maybe 2 months ago. And it only took me, this was like a really fast, it only took me a couple of mornings to stitch up. And a lot of the stuff that was holding me up was, first of all, the drum itself, and then painting the hat. So I did post a picture of my finish, and I haven't had a chance to go in and answer some of the comments. So I thought what I would do is answer the comments. I'll still go in and answer those on Instagram, but I thought I would just, kind of answer them here as well. So the hat is actually a paper mache box, a round paper mache box, and then a wooden disc. And you get everything at Hobby Lobby. You can get the paint at Hobby Lobby, you can get this ribbon at Hobby Lobby, and the paper mache round set comes in a set of 3, and it's in the middle. There's a little bit bigger box and a little bit smaller. And so when you can't just buy this box individually, you have to buy all 3 of them. So eventually I'll try to find other projects to use those for. And then the round disc. So what kind of messed me up a little bit is I was looking at the picture and I was expecting, a round flat disc. And this is the bottom of the disc. There's actually a little bit of a lip underneath. And so the lip, basically the top of it's face down. So that was kind of messing it up. The directions do tell what the SKU number for both of these are, or actually the ribbon, the box, and then the wooden disc. And so you can find all of that at Hobby Lobby. I did, so I had purchased it at Hobby Lobby, and then I ended up having to go to Michael's a few days later, so I thought I would look around Michael's to see if they also carried it, and I didn't find any of it. So it's definitely Hobby Lobby is where you can get all of the supplies. I did buy mine as a kit, the stitching, and so the linen and the threads and the chart. I bought it as a kit from Country Sampler. It is Country Sampler in Spring Green, Wisconsin. And I'll put a link. I'll see if they still have them in stock, and if they do, I'll put a link to it in their shop. But here is my hat. So I worked on this on Monday, and I didn't want the lines to be absolutely perfect. I wanted it to look not, it started off perfect. I did the painter's tape that you use, but then I went in, and after I kind of grunged it up, I went in and free hand painted it. And I didn't want everything to be exactly perfect. I wanted it to be like rustic looking-ish. But here's what it looks like. And so when you're at Hobby Lobby and you're looking for the disc, so it's unpainted wood, and this is the top. So when they have it laying out, this is what you're going to see with this little bit of a lip, and then you just turn it upside down, and that's the top. So, but here's the drum. So it just fits right in that little, this is the lid that is turned upside down. So, but here is the drum. And I think the drum turned out really, really good. I'm pretty happy with the drum. And I did make some changes. And I'll talk about that after I show my next finish, because it was the mistakes of that one that had me kind of change things for this. But I love it. It turned out so good. It's got some, they call it a herringbone stitch around the top. This was stitched on a piece of 32 count murky 1/2 with all of the called for threads. And the beads came from some beads that my grandma had given me that were pretty close to what the called for beads were. But I just couldn't see buying a big tube of beads just for, what is there, 8? Yeah, there's only just 8 beads. So I love it. It turned out really, really good. I'm just like pretty impressed. And again, I don't want to toot my own horn, and I don't, but I was like, wow, that turned out really good. And I didn't use a tutorial. I just followed the directions, and I just used my knowledge as a quilter to kind of put it all together. Okay, so my last finish is Happy Birthday America by Brenda Gervais. So I started this one, I think Monday of last week, and then I finished it Thursday morning. I finished it one of the mornings. But this one was a lot of fun to work on. I really enjoyed it. I was not planning on working on this one. I had it kitted and ready to go. I just, I don't know. I just got this hankering. I just had to stitch it. I had to make it. But then once it was finished, I didn't give myself enough time to like worrying about the finishing. And it's not 100% finished, so I will show it again next time. The only thing that's missing is the pom-pom trim, but here it is. So I learned a lot about this. I learned a lot about drum making, although this is technically not a drum. This is a paper mache box. And I bought the paper mache box, and then this wooden candle holder from, it's out of Arkansas. It's out of Conway, Arkansas. I'll scroll the name of the shop down below, and I will put a link to the shop too. I think it's Stitcher's Garden. I think that's it, or something like that. I'll scroll it. But here is my finish. So I stitched this on a piece of 36 count Confederate gray with all of the called for threads 1/2. And I love it. I think it's 36 count. Yes, it is 36 count Confederate gray. So it does detach. So here's the cake stand. The only thing it's missing is its pom-pom trim, and the pom-pom's supposed to be here on Saturday. So here's what I learned. So in the directions of Happy Birthday America, it says to get some corrugated cardboard. And so it's basically cardboard that has been really compressed to make, I wouldn't necessarily say a super sturdy material, but it's not as thick as mat board, but it's not as flimsy as cardboard can be. And you can get it at Michael's or Hobby Lobby or Joann's. And I just happen to have some. So I went ahead And so the first thing it tells you to do is it tells you to trace the template. Well, it tells you to cut out the template, but I wanted to leave my pattern intact in case I ever decide to make this for an exchange. So I traced mine onto a piece of paper, and then I took that piece of paper and I traced it onto the corrugated cardboard. And then it tells you to cut it out just inside the line. So before you do that, cut out the paper and then lay it onto your paper mache box. And make sure, now keep in mind that you'll have your stitch piece, which will have linen wrapped around it. Then you'll also have the box that will have this alphabet linen wrapped around it. So that provides a little bit of extra room, but I wish I would have cut mine out and placed it on top, because if I had done that, I would have actually cut it out over the line on the other side. That way it would have been a little bit bigger, because it barely fits. Also, when I went to go so you whip stitch around, and then you put the stack of batting, and then you put the piece of corrugated cardboard that you've cut out inside, and then you draw it, you pull the whip stitch up to draw it closed. On my corrugated cardboard, it must have had a couple of weak spots because it buckled right there. And no matter what I did, I could not get that to, lay back out and hold the shape. So in two different places, it sort of like squished it. And it wasn't like I was, reefing it up like it was, like a yo-yo. I was just barely pulling it up. And then you're supposed to, once you pull it up, you knot it, and then you're supposed to do the lacing. And it was while I was lacing, and again, I wasn't like reefing it. I was just, you want to draw it, closed, and then you just, you do the lacing. So I was very disappointed in how how it's kind of laid out and when I finished it, when I got it all done, I got to thinking about it, and I thought, I don't want to use the corrugated cardboard for this, because this thing, it has to like stand, I basically making the drum. So what I used instead was I used mat board. So I took the pattern and I cut out the template on a piece of paper, and then I drew the template onto the corrugated cardboard. I carefully cut it out on the line, and then there's batting, which they don't tell you to use batting, but I did. So there's a piece of corrugated cardboard here, and then there's batting underneath my stitching. Also, they tell you to use a little bit, to use some lightweight fusible interfacing, which I did for this one. I used the lightweight fusible interfacing, but for this one, I doubled it up, and it made the walls stronger. So when I did, put the bottom on and I stitched the bottom to this, you turn it under 1/4 inch, you lay it on, you stitch it. Before I even stuffed it already was like a wall all the way around. And then I folded it down, and it held the crease of my seam allowance. And then I put this right on top of it, and it fit perfect. Perfect. So I would say if you have mat board, I would tell you to probably, if I could do this all over again, I would put mat board underneath this. It just held up a heck of a lot better, and I got that nice round shape, and I'm really happy. Really, really happy with this. So that's what I would tell you. Between the two is, if you're able to use some mat board instead of the corrugated cardboard, it'll hold up a little bit better. And again, after you cut out your template, just lay it, even if you just, if you put, and before you even make the top, and you want to go ahead and put the linen, glue it onto the paper mache box, and then after you glue the top, you you glue this down, and then you have a little bit hanging over, and then you tuck it, you glue it down inside. Take that piece of paper and lay it over the top of it, and make sure that it's gonna fit. So I think once I get the mini pom-pom trim, it's gonna be perfect. I don't think you're gonna see that it buckled in 2 different places. So anyway, but I still love this finish, and I am glad that I have it done, and that I just went ahead and did it, and I didn't allow my nerves to, derail me from fully finishing both of those pieces, because the hat, I was very afraid to attempt a drum. But now that I've done it, I'm looking for other things that I can make into a drum, because it was a lot of fun, and it wasn't as hard as I thought it was going to be. And I had a lot of people tell me that there were tutorials I could check out. Vonna does a drum tutorial. But I sat down one day, and I just read the directions, and I followed the directions, and I just kind of pulled my, my troubleshooting from this one, and I modified it for this one. I just love this. And you guys are probably going to think I'm, I hate tooting I am not a toot your own horn person, but I really love how it turned out. Love it. Anyway, those were my finishes for the past couple of weeks, and I do have a couple more in the works. My hope is to attempt to work on Olga's stocking this coming weekend. I really do want to get it done, and I'm trying not to say that I'm going to do it next weekend, or I'm going to do this next weekend, or I'm going to do this and this, because I'm finding that the last month I just cannot meet those goals. The amount of stuff that I have going on right now just doesn't leave a whole lot of extra time. Like last weekend, it was a 3-day weekend, and I had a quilt I wanted to get cut out, and I had my finishes I wanted to do, and I had stuff I wanted to do. And 2 of the days I ended up doing work around the house, because the husband's not able to, and he probably won't be able to this summer. So a lot of it falls on to me, a lot of responsibilities do. So I'm trying not to say I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, because if it doesn't happen, then I just feel like I've let the whole world down. So but I really do want to get Olga finished. She's been waiting forever, and she's up in my closet. I have her rolled up in a tube, and she's up in my closet, and every time I open up the door, she falls on me. She just splats right on my face. Anyway, so I need to get her done. So that is all the stitching I have to show in this video, and I thought I would grab Mr. Freddy really fast and show him. He was sleeping, and I think he's a little bit offended that I woke him up, but I wanted to show him. He was supposed to get a bath yesterday, and he's dirty, so his white fur is not quite as white. But he was supposed to get a bath, and that didn't happen. He'll get one later today. But I thought I would show him, because I know everybody loves seeing him, and he's so adorable, and I love him. And I just love to oh, my Freddy. Anyway, so as far as all the cross stitching goes, that is all I have to show in this video. And I'm going to start talking about some quilting stuff next. So if that's not something you're interested in, this is a great stopping off point. And as always, I will be back in 2 weeks, and I will put all the links of everything I will put everything that I showed down below. And if I did make any, if I didn't get the linen or what have you right, all of the correct information for everything I showed will be listed down below. And of course, I will be back in 2 weeks. And yeah, so I hope you have a great couple of weeks. And now I am going to talk about quilting. So for the quilting segment of the video, I don't have as much to show as I did in my previous video. I did not, so I thought maybe I would be able to go out and begin working on client quilts this week, but unfortunately that has not happened, and they are starting to, it's not too bad. I think I have 4 out there right now. I have 1 coming in today, and then I have others that I know that they're waiting for me to give them the okay to bring their quilts. But I did manage to unbury my quilt machine. So hopefully next week I will be able to get out there and begin quilting on those, because they do, I feel the burden of them as they wait for me to get to them. And I just feel the burden of everything right now. So I'm hoping that this coming week I will be able to go out and at least work on one. If I can just work on one, I will be so happy. Anyway, so I don't have like a ton of quilting to show in this video, but I did want to show, I'm not going to bring the material out here to show you, but I do want to show a quilt that I have started cutting out, and then in my next video, hopefully I'll have some blocks from that to show you. So this is the Tried and True book. It is by Joe Morton, and this book came out last year, and I was finally able to snag it on Amazon. It was on sale, and it was like a sweet deal, so I grabbed it. And the reason why is there are several quilts in here that I really, really love, but this quilt, this quilt right here is the one that I am in love with. So this is the quilt that I have been cutting out. I went and picked up some fabrics from my local quilt shop, the Speckled Hen in Aurora, Oregon, and I pretty much matched it. I wasn't able to get any, I think one of the fabrics I was able to find, but I matched it pretty close to, you know, the fabrics that are in here. So mine's going to look pretty similar. It'll just have different fabrics in it. So this is the quilt that I cut out. I cut out all 30 of the quilt blocks. And then once I get the quilt blocks made, then I'll cut out the rest of it. But the quilt is called Cut the Mustard. And I remember when she first published the book, and I saw a picture of this quilt on the, I think it was on Facebook, and I fell in love with it. Absolutely head over heels in love with it. So the only thing that I have been working on is my red sampler quilt by Lori Holt of BMI Bonnet. And I finished week 6, week 7, and I have 2 blocks of week 8 done. And I want to show those to you. And I did, in my last video, I showed all the ones I had to date. But I was able, and I'm looking at her blog so I can, you know, so I know which ones to show you. So this one was from week 6. I think. Yes, week 6. Is it week 6? Yes, it is. It's week 6. So there's this one. So this one, I don't know if I had it done in my last video. I just remember I had one done. This one I love. I love how busy it is. And I just love, I love busy reproduction quilt blocks. I love them. Busy, busy. And then this one here, actually that one I showed you last time. No, did I? Yes, I did show you that one. This is the one that is from week 6. They both look very similar to each other, so it threw me for a loop, but they're, yeah. So that one you've already seen. That was from week 5. This is week 6. This is the one you have not seen. And this also is one that is very busy, and I love it. Love, love, love it. And then these two from week 6 were the 6-inch block. So there was this one, and there was this one. This was the cross-stitch block. So then for week 7, there were 3 6-inch blocks, and this was a bigger cross-stitch block. And this one, which I don't remember what this one is called. There's like a bunch of different names for this style of block, and I don't remember what it was called. And then this one, which I think that this one was taken from a bigger block I think originally we did a 6-inch block where it was little 3.5 inch, and then this one is from the 12-inch block, and you just were supposed to do one. And then I have 2 done for this week. I have the 12-inch block that is, it's almost sewn together. Parts of it are sewn together, but I didn't get it done in time to show it in this video, so I'll show it next time. But I did finish the little 6-inch blocks that accompanied this week. So the heart block and this one. So I'm almost caught up. I just have to finish that 12-inch block. I thought maybe I would get it done last night, but it wasn't necessarily labor intensive, but I wasn't paying. I was making the block, but I was paying attention to what was on the TV and not on the block making, otherwise it would have been done. Well, guys, as far as everything I have to show for this video, that is it. I'm going to continue on with the red sampler quilt. I am trying to stay current on that one, or as current as I can be. I think it goes until the end of July, and then it will be done. I'm hoping to cut out some more of my Temecula album. The next block, I think I'm on month 8. I'm still behind on the Forevermore block of the month. I just got the 5th month. No. Yes, the 5th month just came in the mail last week or the week before. Must have been last week. So I'm behind on that one. But it's okay. It's okay. I'll catch up. So, and also I still have to make the mini sewing bee block of the Temecula one that they're doing. I still need to make the May block for that, and I think next week the June block will release. So I need to get it finished. Anyway, so hopefully I will have those to show you. Probably not the Forevermore, but I hope to at least have another 2 weeks on the red sampler quilt, the Temecula quilt blocks, and maybe the sewing bee blocks. So we'll see. I'm trying not to make any plans because it never works out, and then I get very frustrated and I get poopy. So anyway, so I, of course, will be back in 2 weeks to show you what I have been working on. If you would like to see what I am working on in between videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I am Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, or I do have a Facebook page, which is called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting. I also have an Etsy shop, which has project bags in it. And not a lot of project bags, but there's some 4th of July ones that I did manage to get in the shop. I went and bought some more fabrics, so I will have those hopefully going in the shop very, very soon. But you can search for me on Etsy. It's Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. I'll put a link to all of the places down below. And if you have any questions, you can either leave them down in the comment section below, or you can send me an email. And you just might have to be patient with me. Sometimes there's a little bit of a delay in me getting back to you. So I hope you don't mind. It's just sometimes I view the question on my phone, like my email. And then I mean to go when I'm sitting at my computer and answering, and sometimes it's not till like the next day or the day after. So just please continue to be patient with me. Eventually I will catch up with myself. So I hope you guys have a wonderful couple of weeks and you get tons of stitching in, and that the weather where you are is beautiful. And thank you for not I've been posting a lot of my flower pictures, and of course I will have them at the beginning. My flower garden is doing really, really good, and it's looking really good. I've planted all the plants that I'm going to plant this year. And so far I've only lost 1, so that's really good. And I just have a few little things left to do, and then it will be ready. And I just have to make sure I water and weed and take care of it. So, but I'm loving getting and being able to work out my flower bed. So anyway, but thank you for all the kind comments when I do post the 100 or so pictures that I put on Instagram and my stories and on my Facebook. So thank you for being so kind. Yeah, so I guess that brings me to the end, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.